So nice to be here. I joined the Titans group back in January, and I've seen so many great speakers, so I really hope that they'll be able to bring some value today. So that's my company, Boutique Property, and this is what I'm here to talk about. I am fully backing myself at the moment. Since the Property Festival being twin, I think it just kind of, for a start, it put me with people where it was just really inspiring what they were doing. So my target is to triple my turnover in the next 2 years, and I've got a plan. I know how I'm going to do it. I've got strategy. I'm completely dedicated to it, and there's a few things that I've done and how I've worked, and I really hope that it's going to give the positivity. It's not all negative. There's lots of deals to be done out there, and I'm going to talk about how I've done it. So who am I? People probably don't know me at all. So my name's Charlie Parks, Boutique Property, and my history, I am the only girl, 3 brothers, which I think really kind of gives you a bit of grit. You've got to fight with your brothers. I came from a bit of a challenging background, a bit of a challenging family background, but again, that kind of feels like a superpower, because it just shows that you can get over things. There's always a way through. I am a single mom, and my beautiful son is here today to support me. And very, very proud of that. I left a bad marriage. I lost all my property portfolio in the divorce. And there's a book that I read at the time. It is called The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. And if anybody's facing challenges at the moment, I just love that book, because it's at your lowest point where you are forced into situations where you can thrive. And that was that for me. So I'm getting divorced, losing my property. It made me go into property development, because that was the only option to really kind of speed through. Compound results. I'm trying to do everything just a little bit better every time. And working with people. I joined the Auction Buyers Club about 2.5 years ago. So I really wanted Jay and Piot to be here tonight, but they couldn't be. They were at another event. So whoop, whoop, I'm going to give them a shout out anyway. It was absolutely transformational for me. Until that point, I was just sitting in my kitchen by myself, just trying to do the best that I could, but being surrounded by people who gave you support, who encouraged you, it has just been revolutionary for me. And meetings like the Titans, that just lean on people, speak to people. There's people in the room that can really help you. And yeah, 100% I'm backing myself, as you will see as I move through. So project 1 is my HMO award-winning project. But I'm going to talk about that, the HMO, but then also there's a side of that project that nobody knows about that I'm going to talk about. So derelict, drug dead to award-winning HMO. Really interested, the developers in the room, what that picture might kind of spring to mind, because there was more in it than just the HMO. So interesting about mindset. I loved this site. Oh my God, I loved it. It was in Barnum Marcus in the auction, the October auction, and we were talking about property data. So that sits opposite Reading Station. Directly across there is the station, and what sits behind this is a huge swathe of titles of land that's owned by Reading Council, and it's completely undeveloped so far. So for me, I looked at it and I thought that is a perfect HMO, and then that is a gateway to a development site. And also it's surrounded by 6-storey buildings. So for me, to put a 6-storey tower on that site felt like the most obvious thing in the world. So I'm there thinking, this is so amazing, there's going to be so many people, obviously everybody is going to see this, everybody's going to think exactly the same thing as me, and I literally nearly didn't even register to bid. And it's funny how we can kind of get in our own heads, and again, the support that I had around me meant that we did, and I won it. So I kind of get why other people were a little bit cut off by it. But to me, these were just really surface level problems. Okay, spotting was quite tricky, but I got specialist cleaning company in. The planning there was planning just for 2 flats, and what I wanted was a sui generis HMO. But I thought the best way that I was going to be able to deliver that was through a lawful development certificate, because going back through the occupation of the building, there'd previously been a registered provider there that had used it as a HMO, and previous to that still. So my vision was really clear. I wanted to refurb the building, get that cash flowing as quickly as possible, sort out the planning, get somebody in there, hopefully a registered provider, and then go in to get the planning, hopefully on a 6-story tower on the scheme. So there's kind of shows the bigger picture. You can see a small parcel of land behind, and that's what I've started with. But again, such an amazing location, such a fantastic location, and gateway to the undeveloped land behind it. So my plan was to make myself very, very, very visible with Reading Council, which I did. I approached them. I told them that I bought the site. Interestingly, they wished that they bought it as well, because they knew it was a gateway. And I said, listen, I want to do something with social housing. And so weirdly, naively at that point, I thought, oh, well, surely if I go to the council and say, I'd really like to use this for social housing, they will go, oh, brilliant, this is what we need. Yeah, it doesn't happen like that. In fact, the mad thing about this was that when I was talking to the council, wanting to find out if they could recommend anybody or any social housing providers, and I said, well, what about the previous occupant that was in the building already? And they said, look, absolutely 100% they wouldn't be interested because they left. And I was like, right, okay. I am so glad I did not listen to the council, because I went straight back to the previous occupant and they were absolutely thrilled to go back in. The only reason that they left was because the housing association that had owned the building previously let it slip into such bad repair they legally couldn't house people there. So that's what happened. Now I have my plan. I wanted to get my sui generis HMO. I wanted to put a 6-story tower block on the site. And let me make really clear, I have never ever put planning in for a 6-story tower block. I have never got no contacts at the council. This is not something I've done before, but there's again a fantastic book that I will recommend that you read, and it's called Who Not How. We don't need to have all of the information, but what we need is to be able to get the right team around us to be able to do it. So my first point of call was the planning consultant. I've done commercial to resi, I've done HMOs, I've done a new build scheme over in Hackney, but what I wanted was a planning consultant that had access directly into Reading Council, that had experience of doing a tower scheme, and actually just like 500 metres down the road, there was a scheme that was actually being built at the moment and had been sold to Abbury Homes, who's a really active housing association. So I approached the planner for that scheme and started to work with him. Then the architect, again, I wanted to make sure that I was designing the tower that could be built and that was going to make money. So an ex-Berkeley home architect was the right choice. I needed a separate architect for, well, not really. I wasn't doing a change of use for the HMO, but I like to do the electrical plan and the furniture plan, so a separate architect for that. And then gather support. I mean, I spoke to everybody. I spoke to the registered providers, I spoke to the housing associations, I spoke to every councillor. We wrote a, so I made myself unbelievably visible, and that becomes really useful later on. And ChatGPT, I pay for the like premium version. Talking about tech, just a little hands up. Who like literally has ChatGPT open on their desktop every single day?
Every day.
Yeah. Or what, Adam? Yeah. So it's only about half. I don't know how anybody does not function without it. It's my assistant. It is advisor, planning, procurement, sounding good. Like, get on with the AI. So, obviously, I get the HMO. So, I get the HMO. The registered provider that had previously occupied took a lease. But I really want to kind of unpick this a little bit, because I bought the site in October. I agreed the heads of terms with the registered provider, and then I basically wanted to get the lawful development certificate. So I went back with them and the housing association, and I got the 10 years worth of proof of occupation. So it was very, very, very important. If I'd have gone in for planning for sui generis, it would have triggered a change of use, and it would have triggered into building regs. The minute you do a change of building regs, I'm not spending £85,000 to refurb a building. I think it would have been up towards 140, 150 maybe, resilient bars, insulation, sound. So for me, I needed to get that building done as cheaply as possible, as quickly as possible, because let's keep the end game. The end game is that I want to knock it down and replace it with the tower. So all of this is for is to provide really, really good income in the meantime. So I think because I've spoken to, so lawful development certificate went in, I had my agreement with the registered provider. We all kind of talk about the registered providers like they are the golden ticket, and this one has been absolutely fantastic. But write your own lease, control the terms. The registered provider I had an amazing covenant, had £1 million cash reserves in the bank. So you want a registered provider that's going to be able to pay you. So that was really, really key. But I was building, so I hadn't signed the lease. So I basically built all the way through, and I've got a timeline in a minute, but I think my lawful development certificate to give me my sui generis came in on the 30th of May. The registered provider took occupation on the 26th of June. So speed was something that I was absolutely adamant that I was going to do. So I think if you're committed to it, I think the energy flows and it gets you to the place that you want to go to. So that was really good. I literally send a quarterly invoice now. Happy days. I did a 2.5-year landlord-only break clause, so that should the planning on the tower scheme come through, I was going to be able to break and move. But yeah, really good income, 70,566. So this is what backing myself 100% looks like. This is a CGI of my planning app, my first planning app. So I was very tactical about the way that I approached this. I sent a pre-app, not planning app, a pre-app in, but that's just on my land. So I sent a pre-app in, and then I followed it up with a letter to the Mayor of Reading, and all of the councillors to suggest that they consider an alternative scheme. To suggest that instead of my 18-unit scheme, if they brought in their own land that sat directly behind mine, we could do a combined 38-unit scheme. So obviously I was delighted. I was invited into to the council offices in Reading to put forward my case, and really naively, I've never done anything like that before. I mean, literally didn't have a clue. And I kind of thought, oh, my planning consultant will be doing all the talking. Not the point at all. Anyway, we get the agreement, and I get to be able to change that pre-app into a pre-app for 38-unit scheme. So this is what is now in process. And you can see the 2 parcels of land, estimated, so the pre-app is positive. It is, I mean, where it is now is with the estates team to do the commercial agreement. But we've got 2.85 million. Housing associations has indicated that they were interested. So all in all, not bad. Timeline, it was really quick. And I think this is the thing, is that it had speed, and this is what we do. Money likes speed. Reflections. I think just really kind of backing yourself, and what deals are you thinking about at the moment that you're kind of on the fence with? I think just get really clear. You can do it. Put the right people around you. Project 2. So it took me ages to get another project after that. So that was June. I carried on in the auctions, and my God, I was outbid and outbid and outbid. So I was feeling like that had gone really well, and then I really struggled. So I went back out of the auctions, and I went just online. So this deal was just on Rightmove, and it came on the market. I got an alert. I absolutely loved it. I would have bought this. It's just a house. I would have bought this off the floor plan alone. I made sure I was the first person to go in, did a deal at asking, so happy to pay asking price, and got it removed. I want to play HMO bingo because there's like loads of HMO developers in the room. How many rooms have I split this up into? This is undersized. Right.
10.
10's a bit. 9. So I got 9. I moved the kitchen into the centre because you don't need any light. But this is literally going through now. So this is being built now. So I'm doing the same thing again. I'm completely backing myself. It's in build. I got the C3 to C4, and then the sui generis is going through now. But the local councillor decided that they didn't like my lovely 9-unit scheme and proposed refusal, as did the town council. Also, for no reason whatsoever. It's a car-free scheme and it's only 9 people. So I was like, right, okay, go back to your support network. And that's not necessarily the people in the room. In my case, it was the HMO officer who gave me the support and said, listen, I will help you, what you build is great. Also went back to my current tenants, and they've given me their experience, what it's like to live in one of my deals, in one of my projects. So wish me luck. 23rd of June, I find out whether I think I'm going to get it, but I'll let everybody know. Obviously, those figures are very different if I have to go back and appeal. But that's the breakdown. It's fully cash out. Hopefully, maybe get about 50 grand back as well on top. Again, I build, and then we'll see. Roma. So Roma were fantastic. They funded both of these deals. That I'm going to do another one. 100% they paid. They funded 100% of the purchase and 100% of the development costs. So something I did agree, though, talking about those marginal gains, is I agreed that as soon as I had an income coming in, I can pay down the interest. So it's not compounding all the way to the end of the term, which I think is really really useful. And also an additional planning gain on this one. So when I submitted the HMO, I didn't use the entire title. I split it off here. So the sewage generator is just to here, because this is a massive garage and that is a separate road. So I'm going to go back in for PD and hopefully get an entire a new unit there, or at least an additional unit. Project 3. Again, this was on site, just on the market. In fact, another developer had pulled out because they didn't like the work that they had to do on the roof. Tell me how many. Okay, HMO bingo again. How many? 5. So, let me. Manny, how do I make that play? Oh. So, it's a drone footage. The key to this one was the roof line. So it was maximised out with 3 additional en-suites, really nice sizes, and totally changed the GDV of this site. And it's never been done on the road before, and it was, it's cost me 40 grand for an off conversion, and that's about £325,000 worth of GDV to the site.
40 grand. Roughly, well, for a lot of days.
Yeah.
Are you building the roof yourself?
Well, an additional. Financial evaluation. So that's what the floor plan looks like. Again, it will be a fully cash out deal, hopefully. Again, this is live. So I'm being super vulnerable. This put it aside now, and 7th of July, I'll let everybody know. A little bit about the pre-purchase process. So I think, when I buy a deal, I buy a deal. And I think that I think not everybody does it like this, because I obviously understand that people might like to wait until they have, until they've actually secured it, until they've exchanged or completed. But that's kind of not what I do. I go in, I'm doing my surveys, I'm submitting my C3 to C4, and I think it really, really gives the seller a lot of confidence in you. They see you spending money, they see you investing in the site. You've got that opportunity to have that one-to-one relationship if they're actually living there. So yeah, I think that it just, for me, I want to start on day one. So I will have already had my C3 to C4. I will have already done all of that before I start. And for me, I found that a positive way. Project 4. So high five to the suggestions to Toby Spanier. I sat in the National Development Summit. I'd listened to Toby speak, and he was talking about creative deals. So I've already hopped my house up to the eyeballs for the previous 2, and I found this site, and it will hopefully be another 8-bed cash out. I had no money for it. So I was known to the seller, I was known to the agent, so I proposed, initially I proposed vendor finance, and they didn't want to do that. So instead I went for an exclusivity. So I've signed an exclusivity, I get to do all of my planning, and then at the point where I've got my sui generis, Roma will fund 90% of the purchase and 100% of the build cost, but without any second charges on my property. So yeah, that's a really good deal. Any questions? And that's me.
Charlie, I've got a question for you. How do you get 100% finance off Roma on one of the HMOs?
Because I put a second charge on my house. So if you've got a non-encumbered asset, that they will take that instead of the cash. So yeah, I guess for me, that is what backing myself 100% that side.
You say you gave me second first, right? You've done
Second is second. So they have first charge, obviously, on the building that are on the sites that I've bought, and then a second charge on my family home. I'll really try to quick it after.
Sure. A couple more questions. We're sorry, we don't have the microphones. Run out that in batteries, so we're changing the batteries. Any more questions? Paul, you probably know where the site is. He lives already. He's like one of the prolific investors there.
Yeah.
In project 2, I think it was, first HMO shows, you said you do the build first and let the planning catch up.
Yeah.
So you're doing the build without having planning permission?
Yeah.
How do you get the money for it?
Through Roma. Sorry, what? So.
I thought the money actually let married.
So basically, I've got the C3 to C4 already. So I've got the first stakes, and really the planning should have. I've got my second drawdown next week, but the planning will come through. The planning will come through. But so it's my ground floor. I've got 3 additional rooms for one of the projects that's gonna. Obviously, we'll make the sewage areas.
I know.
So I'm going to build everything. We build everything. I'll put a door. I won't fit out those rooms, but it's all
Shell.
The shell.
I know the answer to the question. What Roma did say to me, because I asked them the very big same question for another deal, and they said because her security for a residential more than covers in case she screws. Sorry, you won't? Of course you won't. But in case, that's what the answer was.
Yeah.
So if things go wrong, they've got the additional security.
Exactly. No one has.
Yeah, makes sense. Anyone else? One more question? Time for one more. Guys, another round of applause for Charlie.